We're back for another episode.
Stay tuned.
Hey, what's up, fam?
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
We hope everyone is doing well. We know that it's been a minute since we've been with you all. We aware of that. So we hope that you have been we hope that you have been anticipating our return as we have been anticipating it back to you all. And so we're here with another episode. So, as always, if you're watching us on YouTube, definitely make sure to go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you're not already doing so. Go ahead and like this video
Yes.
and make sure to hit the notification button so that way you will be aware whenever we drop an episode. If you're listening to us on our podcast platforms, we're on all the major ones. So, feel free to listen and tune in however way you can. And so, for all of our new viewers and listeners, we always like to introduce ourselves. I am Shnequia, aka your girl S.
And I am Lakesha, aka L.
And together we are Insightful Conversations with SNL.
SNL.
So, without further ado, let's don't even waste any more time. Let's just go right into what we always do. We always like to start off with what we call Buzzworthy Topics. So, y'all, this buzzworthy topic, we just really want to focus on one. And if y'all have been watching the news or paying attention to social media, you know that there is one major story that has really been hitting the airways, and that is the tragic death of Takeoff from the group the Migos.
Yes.
Just before we got on to start recording, I was telling Lakesha about how we were having a conversation with some of my coworkers today about this. And I can go ahead and start with how I feel. Like, I have so many emotions about this situation. I mean, obviously we know that this is very tragic, very senseless, very sad. I personally am a fan of the Migos, and Takeoff was always my personal favorite in the group because I felt like he was the most talented to me. I felt like he had an amazing flow, and he was just from what I could tell, such a gentle soul, quiet spirit, but very talented. Very unproblematic. Wasn't always in the news and the headlines. Seemed to like really be about his business, and to see his life end like that so tragically for no reason at all. Like, I've heard multiple reports about it being a dice game was that's how it happened. And then I heard about how him and Quavo, because Quavo was his uncle and also a former member of the Migos, about how he started, there was an argument between someone else at the place where they were at. So who knows really what happened. But all around, I'm just really just sad. And I'm just like, how many times is this going to happen? Because it feels like within the past few years, there have been so many rappers that we've lost because of gun violence. And not even just rappers, just people in general. And so I think I'm just to the point where I'm like, how much do we have to take this? Like, when is enough going to be enough? So my prayers and thoughts are with his family, with all the fans, friends, all of his loved ones,
Yes.
especially with Quavo and Offset. the members of the Migos,
Mhm.
because I do know that they currently wasn't together, like they had broke up because of some internal situations. I'm hoping that this brings Quavo and Offset together, so that they can really just, be there for one another and really just keep the Migos legacy alive, especially Takeoff's memory alive as well. And for people, I just want to say this too, and I'll let you talk, Keisha. Um, Social media, sometimes I'm just really like upset at the whole social media thing, because I don't know if you know, but there was like videos circulating of like
Oh,
him
yeah.
getting shot and him, you know, his dead body on the ground and stuff. And I'm like, first of all, you're being very insensitive to his family, his friends, and even to him.
Yeah.
Why are you taking a video of this? Not alone taking it, but then sharing it, posting it on social media, and then sharing it for others. Like, to me, like, why can't anything be sacred anymore?
Mm.
Like, that just really bothers me. And then people are blaming Quavo for, what
Yeah.
happened and stuff. And I'm like, there's really no need to point fingers. I'm sure that he already feels bad as it is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And regardless if it was an altercation, verbal altercation or whatever, I mean, no one expects for it to get that far. You know what I'm saying? I've heard stories about it might be a sacrifice. How
Yeah.
they talk about Illuminati, like all
Mhm.
types of stuff. I'm just like, keep that man lifted in prayer, because this is traumatic for him. Like, I'm pretty sure like he won't be the same
Yeah.
after this. I mean, I know I wouldn't be if I experienced something horrific and tragic like that. So yeah. So it's just a sad situation all around that just didn't need to happen. And it's so unfortunate because his life was cut so short at such a young age, only 28.
28 years of age.
Oh, and also, I don't know if you know Keisha, but the Migos are from Atlanta,
Mhm.
Lawrenceville, Georgia to be exact. And so there is like a mural of Offset that not Offset, excuse me, Takeoff, that can be found in the old Fourth Ward, like near the Beltline.
Yeah.
So they've already created that, and
Yeah, that's
I've seen a picture of
nice.
it. It's nice. It's
That's
nice.
nice of them.
So that's my thoughts about it.
Yeah. For me, it was very, very shocking because, like you, Shaniquia, I actually, I like the Migos. I like listening uh, to their music. I like their swag and things of that nature. And Takeoff is one of those people you could tell he was the type. He very much does not necessarily like to be in the center of attention. He's more so, you can tell, more comfortable in the back and letting Quavo and letting Offset shine more. Although he's just as talented uh, as both of them. But definitely he wasn't one of those people that, we constantly saw in the news, especially when it came to negativity. So to see yet another rapper within the last couple of months, I think I've counted like three rappers that have passed, and all of them young. Like, these are not people that are 40, 50, 60 plus. These are young people. And so I'm like you, when is it going to stop? um what is it going to take to end gun violence? What happened um to just, if there is an argument, walking away, because in one of the videos I saw, I actually did see Quavo um walking away. Or like we used to do back in the day, if you had smoke with somebody, you fought. And the whole point of fighting was like, hey, you may get your behind busted, you may be embarrassed, but at least you live to see another day. And it's just
You,
like,
right.
it's
And
so easy now for people
yeah.
just to pull out a gun and just shoot. And my thing is, that gun is just like HIV, it's just like AIDS, it's just like mental health, it's like an STD. It doesn't have a race tied to it, it doesn't have gender. tied to it. It doesn't know nothing about morals and values. Like, anybody can be affected by a bullet in a matter of seconds. And so I just think that we just need to be more cautious, like I said, of how we deal with conflict. Definitely not only keep Takeoff's family lifted off in prayer, but like you said, Quavo, because at the end of the day, he was there with his nephew when it happened. And y'all, me and Shnequia have talked about this time and time again. Mental health, mental illness is real.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows what this man is going through day in and day out, replaying, reliving what has happened to his loved one. So, instead of sitting up here gossiping and putting out all of these different conspiracy theories, or, this man is receiving threats and the blame and all that kind of stuff. If my whole thing is, if you can't sit up here and really come up with solutions, if you ain't got nothing good to say, then don't say anything at all, because who's to say that one day down the road, you or your loved one could be in a very similar situation. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
be careful, y'all, how we treat people, the things that we say about people, because we never ever know what we may be facing in that road ahead. So like you, Shaniqua, my prayers are with his family during this time. And I just hope and pray that they are able to bring this case to a close, to bring, just to give his family some sense, um, just to give them a sense of peace,
Mm-hmm.
serenity, to find out who did it, and things like that, so that they can move on with their lives. But nobody thinks, as close to the holidays, and we're like almost 3 weeks away from Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
that's a chair, that's a spot at somebody's house now that's going to go empty, is going to go unfulfilled. So
Mm-hmm.
praying for you, Takeoff, and your family.
Yes, and also, and just one more thing that I forgot to mention when I was speaking about my feelings about the
Mm-hmm.
situation. Um Also being mindful of telling people like how they need to grieve and
Yeah,
what they need to do and all this stuff like that, because I've also been seeing messages on social media directed at, oh well, Cardi B and Offset didn't post anything, so how they feeling? Why would they not say anything? And I'm just like, they don't. First of all, they don't owe us anything. They don't have to
that's
make a
correct.
statement if they don't want to. And if they do want to, they can do that on their own time. They're finding out just like everybody else
Yeah,
did. So it's just, I don't know. Social media sometimes I just feel like they be doing a little bit too much, because I'm like, you can't sit up here and tell the people just because they not releasing a statement right away that they not grieving and that they don't care.
yeah.
So I just had
I
to say that we got to get out of that.
I agree with you, cuz I agree with you.
Yeah. So, and even if it's not in social media land, just even if it's in real life, you know what I'm saying? Just because people don't say anything or may not, you know, feel like they're distressed or whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not grieving. People grieve in different ways.
They
We did a
do.
whole episode about this in season 1 about grieving. So y'all can refer back to that because we shared a lot of nuggets in
Yes.
that episode about grief and what it can look like and different types of grief. So yeah. So that's pretty much what I had to say about that. Okay. So we ready to move on?
We ready to move on, cuz.
All right. So we'll go ahead and dive right into the meat and potatoes of this episode. And as always, we always like to give you the title of the episode. So we call this Unhappily Ever After, or is it? Hmm. Keisha, what you think that might be about?
Our audience be maybe like, what the heck is they talking about?
Right. Right. So, want to give a little bit of backstory about this topic?
I can. Like Shaniqua said, although we have been missing MIA, of course the world keeps revolving. Um, and as of late, there has been a lot um that as a world, as a nation, we've just been facing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those, I would say, overarching topics is marriage. If you all have not been keeping up with all things social media, whether it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Snapchat, etc., or just you just hearing word of mouth while you're talking to friends, loved ones, co-workers, so on and so forth. There has been a lot, and I mean a lot, of
Mm-hmm.
celebrity divorces. And I'm talking about within weeks of one another. Like one week
Mm-hmm.
you hear about one couple, the next week is somebody different. The
Some
next
of them
week,
was even within
you're
days.
right. You're right. So very, very, very quickly that we have been seeing the demise of relationships. And y'all, we're not talking about marriages that people have been married like 90 days, like that TLC show that we see. Like a lot of these couples have been together
For
like
years.
years on end. And so, for those of you all that may not necessarily be desiring marriage, or marriage is not necessarily a topic of importance to you, then what we're getting ready to discuss may not necessarily fly with you. But for those of you all who are married, you desire to be married, and like I said, you're just interested in the topic of marriage, period. You love. You like to see people in love. You like to see people work through things when things get uh difficult and or hard. Then we ask you to stay tuned, because of course that's what we're getting ready to talk about, these celebrity relationships that for whatever reason they have gone astray, and what effect, if any, does this have on society as a whole. What effect can this have on those couples who have kids involved, and how that will play out in both the short and long term. And then for those of us who are single and desiring to be married, are there going to be an effects on that end as well? So that's just a little synopsis of what we're getting ready to break it down to you all about.
Mm-hmm. So, like Keisha said, there are a lot of couples that had ended their marriages within the last few weeks or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so we're just gonna highlight a few because there's so many. So we're just gonna highlight a
Yes.
few. Um, who do we want to start with first? Because there's so many. Um,
Let's start with Cynthia Bailey and Mike Hill.
okay. Yeah, because that's still pretty current because she was in the news recently
She
about
was.
some stuff about kind of like giving a little bit more detail about what happened in the
Yeah.
demise of their marriage. And one of the things that she had mentioned was that she felt that she lost her friend, like the friendship
Yeah.
wasn't there anymore. And I do agree with Cynthia, even though I'm not married, never been married. I hope to be there one
Yes.
day. I do feel that, what she was saying about friendship, like she, for some other reason, she felt like it just wasn't there for her anymore. And I don't know how her and Mike necessarily got together. I mean, I know how they met on the Steve Harvey talk
Right.
show, but I don't know like what the duration of their relationship was. I don't know like how long they stayed friends before they decided to pursue a relationship and date and whatever like that. But I do believe that there has to be a core of friendship there.
Most definitely.
I have to like you. Not only do I love you, but I have to like you as well.
Yeah.
And I personally think, this is just my personal opinion, I think Cynthia may have, because I don't know necessarily who filed. Do you know?
She actually filed for
She filed.
divorce.
Okay,
She
so
filed.
I'm kind of wondering if when she mentioned about the friendship not being there anymore for her, I'm wondering if that was just her way of being like, you know what, because I see that this is not here, and I don't necessarily want to have bad blood with you, so let me go ahead and try to end this right now while we still have some type of a salvageable
Yeah.
relationship, some type of connection,
Yeah.
relationship, whatever have you, so that you won't be gone completely. So let's salvage what we got, basically.
Yeah.
The little bit that we do have. I'm wondering if it might be more of that. Because that's kind of
Gotcha.
what I heard, what I hear when I think of that.
I agree, cuz I agree. Um, like we stated before, this is just me and Shaniqua's opinion. We're not married as of yet. We've never been married. So please don't be coming for us in the comments. At the end of the day, like I said, we're just sharing our perspective and our opinions on things. Cynthia is one of the housewives from Atlanta. For those of you all that may not necessarily know who she is, she was on several seasons of the show. And like Shnequia stated, she met her husband, Mike Hill, via Steve Harvey. One thing about Cynthia that um, I've noticed during the time that she was on the show, especially when her and Mike were in the relationship, and even I'll take it back further when she was with Peter, her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia's one of those women. I see a lot of the old me in Cynthia. A lot of you want to be loved. You're in love with the idea of being in love. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I felt like she um she brushed off a lot of red flags, um especially
Definitely.
stuff that came into her knowing, at the very beginning of the relationship that could possibly have negative effects if they were to move forward with the marriage. um and I felt like a lot of that, like I said, is she just wanted to be married. And so we have to be careful with who we end up getting ourselves, tied to, entangled with, because just because we're friends, or it may start off very friendly, does not necessarily mean that we will keep that same energy if we decide to take it to a more intimate level. And so that's a conversation that has to be had. And I know a lot of times, especially in the beginning phases of the relationship, like there's
Mm-hmm.
butterflies, everything's going good. I like
Honeymoon
you.
phase.
Right,
Yeah.
that
I
honeymoon
like
phase.
you. Do you like
Me.
me? Oh no, you hang up. No, I hang up. No, you hang up for like all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And so, like I said, a lot of times it can cause us to gloss over, like I said, those things that we really need to step back and take a hard look at. Um, Especially there were times where he mentioned, he was very honest, he was very candid, about his infidelity in the past. He's cheated on all of his wives. And
Because Cynthia
so
was his third wife, by the
yeah.
way.
And so to me, when he made that admission to her, I appreciated him being honest and transparent and vulnerable in that moment. But at the same time, part of me is like, Cynthia, like, you really, really need to reevaluate. Is this really for you? Is he more of just the friend, the homeboy, the buddy? Or do you really see him as a husband material? And so, um, once again, I was shocked to hear um, that they had decided to part their ways. I know some people were not as
I
shocked because, once
wasn't.
again, like I said, there were already flags there that a lot of
Yeah.
us were seeing anyway. But one thing that I am happy about with the both of them, one, neither Cynthia nor Mike have been vicious, have been messy or petty towards one another in terms of their interactions on social media. They very much have taken an adult approach. And I can respect that. And like I said, to me, that's normal Cynthia behavior, because we see even her relationship with Noel's father, and how well they
Oh,
interact
yeah.
in co-parenting. So it didn't really surprise me that her and Mike would have that type of interaction as well, because she's not necessarily she doesn't really like mess. She doesn't really like drama and things like that. So just wishing them the best moving forward
Mm-hmm.
when their individual lives. I know that she has stated that she still has a desire to be married. She's open for love. And so, we pray that both her and Mike take time to heal, whether that's spiritually, that's emotional, psychologically, and things of that nature, before they decide to go back into a marriage again.
I agree with that. I know you said that you were shocked. I wasn't surprised. No, I mean, no, I really wasn't because I followed them. You know, I watched them on the Housewives or
Mhm.
whatever. And like you said about the red flags, like they clearly were there.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, Cynthia, because, and I do agree with you, I feel like she is the type that really loves the idea of being in
Yeah.
love and what that feels like for her and all of that. And I felt like because of that, she didn't really um I don't want to say that she didn't get to know him because we don't know that. But
Right.
I would say like didn't really maybe take time to really think through like, okay, is this just the butterflies that like you mentioned, or is this like really someone that I feel like I can be with? You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering a lot of times if age has something to do with it too, because Cynthia is of a
Yeah.
certain age, and I'm not trying to call her old,
Right.
so don't come for me, people. But I'm just saying she is you know, older, and sometimes there's pressure
Yeah.
when you get older of a certain age, over 40, you know, people feel like, oh, well, you need to be married and this and that and all of that. But you know, I'm wondering if that might have had something to do with it. And I'm also wondering if it had something to do with, you know, her first marriage, you know,
Mm.
because, you know, this was Cynthia's second marriage. Her first
Yes.
marriage was to Peter Thomas. You know, that was also documented well, heavily on the Housewives of Atlanta. Because she even got married on the show
I remember that.
to Peter. So I mean, and we saw their ups and their downs and their ups and their downs and their downs and all of that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think that their marriage ended on the best of terms. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. So, because I don't know the how the level of their friendship or relationship now is currently. But I'm just wondering if, you know, maybe it has something to do with, let me try it again. You know what I'm saying? To see how it may go this time. Because the one thing that I kind of hope that she doesn't experience is that she feels like she's a failure. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because there have been a lot of people, not just her, there's been other celebrities who have been married quite a few times. You know, we've
Right.
talked about a few of them on this show before. Um, and they still keep, you know,
They
getting
keep at it.
in and out of
Yeah.
relationship. They don't necessarily let it define them. So I'm just wondering if maybe that has something to do with it. But like you said, wishing them both the best, hoping that they both heal. A lot of people say that her daughter's father, Leon, the
Uh-huh.
actor, they say that they feel that he is really Cynthia's soulmate.
Mm.
But
That's
I don't know.
they have great anytime you see them together, you can definitely tell that they have great chemistry. They definitely love each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think it's from a romantic um sense. And then there's definitely a high level of respectability between the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that is shown in their co-parenting relationship with Noel. And so who's time will tell who's to know, but I think that her and Leon will forever
Be
remain
friends.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a fun fact that's not totally related to nothing that we're talking about. I met him before. Did I tell you that?
You did not
Yeah.
tell me that.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, it's not like we had a conversation. But I mean, I was at a play that he was in. I went to the
Okay.
play. I can't, it was one of those Jacarius Johnson type plays.
Yeah.
And he was one of the actors, and you know, they did like a meet and greet after the show, and you know, I got a chance to meet him, and he's very nice. You know, he's attractive anyway, so he's
That
even more
he
attractive in
is.
person, and he smelled nice. I remember that. And he gave
Tells
me
you a truth.
I mean, he gave me a hug and everything. So, and I have a picture, you
Okay,
know,
okay.
of the two of us together because it was one of those things where you could get a picture taken and stuff.
Good.
So, yeah, so just want
Did you
to
get him to
touch
sign
on
it
that.
for you?
Huh? Oh
Did you
yeah,
get him to
yeah, he did
good?
autograph it for it. Yes, yes, he did. So, and I also got he had some other pictures that were already autographed that
Gotcha.
you know, you could get to. So,
Okay.
I just wanted to share that with everyone.
That little tidbit, that little
Yeah,
nugget.
yeah. So yeah, so that's Cynthia and Mike. Okay, so I'll talk about the next one. I'll bring up the next one.
Okay.
How about now? This one shocked me, Keisha. You talking about shocking? Tia, Mowry, and Cory Hardict.
This shocked me as well.
That was
Yeah,
that was
that was
shocking for me.
shocking.
Okay, so for all y'all that don't know, you should know, but if you don't, Tia Mowry is one half of the Mowry twins, sisters, sister.
Sister.
Okay, yeah, that show, The Game, she was on The Game, and that movie Twitches, Twitches or something, where they
Yeah,
were like tween witches and stuff.
yeah,
A lot of different things. So Cory is an actor as well, and he's on a show currently that's on the CW, All American Homecoming or
mhm,
something like that. So they actually had been together, I think, since like the late 90s or something.
yeah,
I mean, they were together for a long time, and then they eventually got married back in, I think, maybe the late 2000s or whatever.
mhm.
And they had been married for 14 years. And then before Tia had filed for divorce, I want to say was it last month or so,
Yeah, I want
something
to
like
say
that, or
so.
September or something like that. So yeah, that was shocking to me because we never saw them in the media. We didn't really know much about their marriage. They just gave you just enough, because no, seriously, because like they had not a talk show, excuse me, a reality show, not
Yeah,
the two of them, but remember Tia and Tamara had a
I
reality show
remember.
many, many years ago. And their husbands appeared on
Yeah,
the show, but we got like a glimpse. Tia would post him on social media from time to time, when they did family photos, but we didn't really know much. So it
yeah,
was shocking to me because on the outside looking in, it seemed like, this was a picture perfect couple. You know what I'm saying? They seemed to mesh well together, really complement one another. So I was just shocked by that and saddened almost,
yeah,
because I was just like, wow. That also, I will say this, that whole situation of them like divorcing or filing for divorce
mhm.
made me not say relationship goals anymore or marriage goals, because I used to be that person that would be like, oh, they relationship goals, they marriage goals. Because I realized you can't do that because you don't know what they're going through behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So that helped me to stop doing that. So, and for the most part, I haven't heard any back and forth. They seem to be very cordial with one
Yeah,
another. And that's another thing that really gets me. People automatically always assume that when people get a divorce, it's like the man cheated,
the man cheated. Yeah,
or, they really at odds with each other. They have to tear each other down on social media and all this stuff like that. I'm like, no, sometimes people just fall, they just grow apart. They become two different people than
yeah,
they were than when they first met, because you got to think about it. They were very young when they connected and really got to know each other, and then so I mean they could just want two different things. We don't know, because their thing has actually come out as
right.
the reason for why they're divorcing. But I feel that they'll still remain friends. They'll still be, good co-parents to their two children. And I wish them the best also. And I didn't like when people was speculating that he was the reason
Yeah,
why Tia filed for divorce. I didn't like that. And
yeah.
he debunked that immediately.
Oh,
He got
yeah.
on social media, he was like, lies, as he should. So
And people too don't realize in this age of social media, you know, Tia and Cory have children.
mm-hmm.
And their children, y'all, these are not, teenagers, these are not adults, like these are kids. And so we have to be mindful and or respectful of the things, once again, that you say about people, and also those people who they are attached to other people. Because I mean, her son is old enough to understand what goes on social media and things of that nature. And so once again, we don't know the psychological effects that, seeing these comments made about his mom, especially his dad, he's a young Black boy, um,
Mm-hmm.
how that could potentially, like I said, affect him and things like that. So, um, like I said, I was shocked. Um, I never necessarily looked up to them as relationship goals. Tia and Tamara have definitely been one of those um, individuals just growing up. Like I always made it a habit to watch Sister Sister. Like that show came on, whatever I was doing, like I was stopping it. And so just to see their evolution as actresses, to see their evolution as women and as mothers, and now as entrepreneurs. It has just been amazing, like I said, to just watch that. Like I said, coming from a millennial, being in that particular generation during that time, but also just being very sad about, like I said, a young Black family that for whatever reasons they've decided to part ways. And I don't know if you've heard, Shaniqua, but I was reading when the story first broke. Of course, YouTube was going crazy about it. I even read on one influencer's page that there's rumors that, they're now in couples counseling. Tia's going to take him back and they're going to
Yeah, I
do
heard
this
that.
and that. And then, of course, once again, you all, none of this has been proven to be true. Who's to say that they are? Who's to say that they're not? But once again, I really believe that people should be given privacy during moments and times like this. Once again, I just hope and pray that they surround themselves. They have a great support network around them, and that they're getting whatever type of help and or therapy that they need. Um, and also having those conversations with their kids with regards to the future and how that's going to look like, possibly being in a two-person household, and things like that. And just, letting the children know that, just because we have decided to part ways, that doesn't necessarily mean that, the way that we feel about you all, that changes. It does not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, wishing them the best. But like I said, shocked. I knew something was up because I felt Tia and Tamara, for the most part, like I said, if you followed them throughout their career, um, they're very much, I would say, on the straight and narrow. And what I mean by that, very conservative, um, very much, they talked a lot about their Christian morals and values. Um, when it comes to something that they believe in, like they take a stance against it, and they don't necessarily waver based upon other people's opinions of them and how they feel about a certain matter. So when I started seeing some racy photos on Instagram and things of that nature, like I said, and not necessarily seeing her post as much about the family or her and her husband, like I said, just in my mind, I was kind of speculating. But then at the same time, as a woman, I'm just like, maybe she's going through this phase, like she's evolving as a woman. She's becoming more comfortable with her body and who she's becoming and things like that. But like I said, we don't necessarily know because we're not her. Only she does. So the best of wishes to the both of
Right.
them in this next
Right.
phase journey
I agree.
for them.
I agree. And then some people were talking about how it always seemed like he didn't seem like he was into her and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, if you look at a lot of videos with him in it or interviews or whatever, he just, to me, he strikes me as laid back, like got a laid back, calming personality, like I'm just, I'm doing me. I'm not trying to be like up in the crowd like that. And she's very bubbly. So there's already an opposite right there. So I wouldn't necessarily feel like it seemed like he wasn't into her. I think that was just his personality.
He comes off as more introverted
Yeah.
compared to Tia. I know when they did the interview for on OWN for Black Love, I know that there was a segment that they were talking about that they actually had an argument before that taping. and that they had almost thought about not filming but decided to do it anyway. And I can appreciate that because once again, and you can kind of see if you watch that interview
Yeah, because there was a
closely.
clip that people are showing that went around
Yeah,
where it was like he was talking and she said something that kind of interrupted and he was like, let me finish or whatever. It was like the look that he gave, and people were
yeah.
already talking about, oh, like he seemed like he abusive or something. I'm like,
Right. And I'm
people
like, I
just
don't think he's abuse. It explained when he explained that they had had an
right.
argument beforehand. I'm like, that explains the tension that was in the air. But that's also reality, y'all. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. Like, you're gonna have your ups and downs. So I can appreciate in that moment, like I said, they were vulnerable, they were transparent. It probably felt a little uncomfortable on our end because, like I said, we're watching it. But once again, y'all, these people are living this day to day. So a little uncomfortability for us is probably nothing from what they've had to go through and experience throughout the 14 years of their union.
Right. And speaking of Black Love, that TV show, um, I'm just making an observation here, so don't get upset. Not necessarily you or just anybody who's watching or listening. Um, a lot of people who go on that show aren't together anymore. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Um, just something to think about. I didn't really try to go in any direction with that. It was just something that's our observation. Like I said, that I had noticed. I was just like, I hope the show isn't cursed, because like I said, I just noticed that. But then there are some couples who are still together that's on there,
Yeah.
but I just know like a lot of them aren't. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe when you showcase your relationship or marriages on platforms like that and people are constantly like glued in and tune in, I'm wondering if that might have something to do, because like when you let people in,
Yeah.
that you're asking for like people to be criticizing you, not that you it's warranted, but it does tend to happen, just like a lot of couples that be on these reality shows, you know they get married, they show their marriage on TV, and then next thing you know, they file for divorce.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, if it might be one of those situations.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really trying to go in any direction with that. It was just something that I noticed.
Understandable.
Oh,
Understandable.
yeah.
Is there another couple you want to talk about?
Um, let's see. Hmm. I'm trying to think. Well, there was Tom Brady and Gisele.
They're big right now in the news,
Yeah, they're
especially
big.
especially Gisele. She was making headlines last weekend.
Oh, what happened last weekend?
Of course, there's speculation she has a new boyfriend.
What, already?
Yeah.
But their divorce is final, right? It's officially finalized. Like, it's not
What
just we file, like it's final, like we are not together anymore
that
by the
I
court of
don't
law.
know, but I know last weekend when I was reading, yeah, she was buzzing across the internet, yeah, about this new boyfriend.
Do we know like what happened in their situation? I have speculations on what I think, but I
I
didn't
just
know if
heard
it's
I've just heard different things. Once again, allegedly, um, from the sources that I've read, and from some of the influencers and journalists that I follow, allegedly, the two of them, I guess, had made an agreement with regards to his football career. He was going to play for X amount of years, and then once he hit that point, he was going to retire, and spend more time with his family. But then it was also going to give Gisele the opportunity um, to do some of the things that she wanted to do, and to really pour into some of her interests and her hobbies. For the simple fact, as a wife and as a mom, she had sacrificed a lot to keep him on top as far as his football career and being supportive and things like that. And I know I want to say it was last year, the year before, when there was speculation, around him retiring. Was he retiring? Is he not going to retire? Things of that nature. And then I guess he kind of did it, and then he kind of came back out of retirement. And she was just like, no, that was not part of the deal that you and I agreed with. I've heard that he didn't really even consult her about that particular decision. That was just something he had done on his own. And that, as a result, it caused some friction in the marriage and things of that nature. But once again, all of this is speculation. Only the two of them know what really took place. Once again, there was no incidences, of no one has came out and said once, anything about cheating or things of that nature. I just really feel, with him being the superstar that he is when it comes to NFL football, and just the wear and tear on the body.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone for long periods throughout the year.
And he's
Um,
of a certain age too.
of a certain age, he also has little kids and things like that. So, although, like I said, he will forever be remembered in the NFL when it comes to his performance. The I would say the Achilles tendon is, hey, the sacrifice that your wife has had to make so that you could be great at what it is that what you do in order to provide for your family. But also, is it fair to her and your kids
Right.
as well? But also looking at his side of things as well, because if this is a dream of his, and we know men, I don't know a man that can just sit down and not do anything. I know that, people have speculated, oh, he could have been, he could have became a sportscaster. He could have started coaching, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, y'all, none of that equates to being out there on that football field and throwing balls
Mm-hmm.
and, being camaraderie with the other players and things of that nature. So, once again, it's just a sad situation because they two were together
A
for
long
a
time.
long period of time. This was not, like I said, a marriage. They was together for a year or two, and then, boom, they're divorced. Like, they've been together for some time. And so, once again, just to see it dissolve in the manner that it has, um, it's quite sad. But for the most part, he's doing good. I know that there are some people were getting on to him in the last game. He really wasn't playing up to his peak. And a lot of them was speculating if the divorce had anything to do with it. I think they said he had been to a wedding the night before, partying and things of that nature. And then, like I said, Gisele is blowing up the internet with this new man. So it's just a lot going on from their stance. But it looked like he's moved on. He's doing fine, and so is she.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I wasn't the only one that was thinking that because he decided to unretire and go back to the field. Because that's what I was thinking might have been the reason. Because I'm like, they probably did have an agreement, like you said, that okay, you're gonna play for a certain number of years, and once you meet this peak, you know, you're gonna get out, you're gonna
Yeah.
retire, and I'm gonna get to live out my dreams and the things that I want to do. So, I never heard anything like what you were saying, that the people that you follow, like the journalists or whatever, YouTube personalities, I hadn't heard anything of that. That was just something that I had also thought about too. So, but again, this is all alleged.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily know because they don't have to tell us what
Exactly.
their reason is. But yeah, so
But I think, Shaniqua, it goes back, all in all, regardless of what celebrity couple it is. I think the biggest lesson to garner out of all of this is, it goes back to what you said about Tia and Corey,
mhm.
is that we've got to stop looking. We're outsiders looking in. And so, just because it looks glossy, just because it looks beautiful, and it's been painted up and everybody's smiling and these photos are awesome, on Instagram, we don't necessarily know what's going on behind closed doors with these individuals. And so we've got to stop admiring or wanting to be like them, because you don't necessarily know what comes with everything
Mm-hmm.
that comes with their relationship. And so we've got to start creating our own hashtag uh relationship goals, and things like that. And two, to me, even it looking at these people, at the end of the day, y'all, they're human. You know, these people have feelings, they have emotions, they have hobbies, they have good days, they have bad days. And I think a lot of times, like you said, it goes back to social media. Like everybody always wants you to be on 100. And y'all, that's unrealistic. Ain't nobody ever at 100%
Mm-hmm.
of the time. Like you have those times where you feel horrible. You have those times where you feel high, um, and things like that. So, like I said, we got to stop looking up to these people and basing their lives, or try to base our lives around what they got going on. What they got going on may work for them, and maybe something different works for you. At the
Right.
end of the day, as long as you happy, you make it do what it do, and let them leave them people alone, let them live their life.
Right. Which was part of the reason that Lakeisha and I, decided to title this episode what we titled it, Unhappily Ever After, or Is It? Because if you look at all of these different couples that we talked about, um, just again, this is my
Mhm.
opinion. Um, it seemed like they knew when they were at their breaking point.
Yeah.
It seemed like they knew what works best for them, and that they wasn't willing to compromise their
Nice.
happiness for a
Mm.
facade. Like what you were talking about with social media. Like it's not always what it posts to be. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is commendable
Oh yes.
to know and to love yourself enough to know that, hey, this isn't working for me anymore. It did before, but I'm in a new phase in my life. I deserve more. I will get more. I want more. And I'm going to move on. I'm not going to continue to stay in this situation that can ultimately be toxic if it's not already so, just because people feel like I need to,
Yeah.
or that's what is expected. So just because a marriage or a relationship or even a friendship, because we like to talk about different types of relationships on this show, just because something ends, that doesn't necessarily mean it's always a bad thing.
Mm. That's correct, cuz.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to mean that. So is it really unhappily ever after?
Mm.
It may not be.
It
That
may
could be
not
their
be.
happily ever after. You just don't know. Because again, like we were saying, outside looking in. So I feel like even though with the situation with Tia and Cory was very shocking to me, like I said, I commend her because that took a lot of courage. Not only courage, but strength on her end to know, like, hey, I'm not going to do this. So regardless of whatever the reason was that she chose to file for divorce, she knew that this wasn't for her anymore. And they probably both knew that.
Yeah.
And maybe she was just the one that was like, you know what? I'm going to take that step. I'm going to do it, regardless of it being scary, being unknown, what the fears I may have. I'm still going to do it. So
And
I
I believe,
commend her.
Shnequia, one of the biggest takeaways from love, I remember my pastor saying this years ago. Sometimes loving you means that I've got to place distance between the two of us. I don't always have to. I think a lot of times people believe that in order for me to love you, I've got to be on top of you. We got to be close together. And that's not necessarily true, you all. A lot of times when you love somebody, you need to let them go. If it comes back to you, it comes back. And if it doesn't, it's a-okay. But like I
Mm-hmm.
said, we've got to get rid of this idea, this fantasy ideal of love. Like I said, it's about butterflies and some handsome man coming to save you from a tower and rescue you with a dragon, and then y'all gonna run off and
Not
live
the
y'all
dragon, child.
these fairy tales. Like that's not life. That's not life. Relationships are hard work. Marriages are hard work. And We know people, whether that's family members, like I said, looking at celebrities, it's coworkers. You may even have friends who
Mm-hmm.
are currently married. And I'm 9 out of 10 times that you sit down and you talk to these individuals, you talk to these couples, they tell you every day I've got to wake up and make a decision to keep going on, with my wife or with my husband. I got to make a decision each and every day to die daily to my flesh, because our flesh is selfish. Our selfish all is all about me, 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 and I, and I want this and I want that. That's not necessarily the case in a marriage. It's about the one becoming two.
Yeah.
And so that's a daily feat that these
Yeah.
couples have to take on each and every day. So for those of us, like I said, who are single and we are desiring to be married one day, yeah, we're gonna have those great moments with our husbands and with our wives where we're gonna be taking photos, we on vacation, living our best lives, we in matching pajamas for Christmas. But then there's going to be some days, I'm willing to bet you, where it's going to get hard and you are going to question, you maybe even doubt at sometimes, is this really worth it? And so for the couples that are doing this daily, they've been doing it for years. For some that just got married recently, you just made it to your 1 month, anniversary. Keep on with the keep on. And once again, if it does not work out, you don't have to be messy about the situation. You don't have to be petty about it. Go and get the help that you need. Hopefully, the two of you all can part
Mm-hmm.
ways in an adult-like fashion, and you go on and you live your life. And if
Mm-hmm.
love is meant for you, you will eventually discover it.
I agree with that. And a lot of people that I've talked to that, are married or have ever been married, they always talk about, love is not always enough. Like there has to
Mm,
be, you have to work at
you
it.
have to work at it.
There's like, it's constantly work. You have to work at it. Like you have to want this. You got to put into it
Yeah,
and stuff, what you want to get out of it. And so that was just always something that stood out to me. And I'll just be transparent for a little bit. With me being a single person, all of these ending of these marriages like this, it kind of had me feeling like, oh my God, like, is this something that I still want to do? Because I don't want this to happen to me,
right.
especially the ones who've been married for like 20 plus years.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden they decide, you know what, we're filing for divorce. I'm like, I don't know what was the ins and outs of what happened in a lot of those situations, but I'm just like, if we made it to 20 plus years, um, we gonna tough it out at that point. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I was thinking. Like, that's a long time
yeah,
and a lot of energy that you have spent placing into this situation. But again, outside looking in, we don't know what the situation is. But I can honestly say that even though I see this, marriages ending like this, it doesn't make me feel like I don't want that to happen for me. Like I still desire marriage.
me too,
And
cuz.
I still desire it. And I just know what the work that I need to do for myself to constantly, prepare myself to
Right.
be a wife and all of that. And that really goes into the single season. Like you have to really be prepping in this season. And I know we did an episode about singleness before too, about how, embracing it
Yeah.
and really just allowing it not to be like a bad thing, which can be hard to not do that.
Yeah.
But, just looking at it as a part of a journey in your life.
Yeah.
Everybody at some point was single. I've learned that. But, now some people might be in a relationship, some people might be married, and that's okay. I feel like if it's really, and we talk about God a lot in this on this show too. If I personally feel like if it's really in God's will, like it will happen.
It will happen. It will happen.
So, and
But
it is
in
like,
the
yeah.
it, but in the meantime, between time, like you said, you live. My thing is we prepare for everything else in life. When it's time for you to take a test or an exam in college, you prep for that. When it was time for you to apply to colleges and universities, whether that was your bachelor's, your master's, your doctorate, you prepped for that. When you purchased your first home, or even when you purchased your first car, you prepped. You didn't just go out on a whim and do it. Some people may have, but the majority of people, there was a process that they went through before they got what it is that they were seeking. Same thing with marriage. And two, I hope and pray, if anything, with each and every one of these couples, like Shnequia stated before, not to look at themselves as failures and to show themselves grace
Mm-hmm.
during this time. Show yourselves grace. Don't necessarily be too hard on yourself. Analyze, take what you need to take from the situation or from the relationship, uh, whatever lessons that you need to learn. And like you said, work on fixing those areas which are broken, because
Mm-hmm.
there's some brokenness that exists. And if we don't learn to come to terms with it, if we are not able to really meet it head on, then you are going to forever find yourself repeating this cycle in some form,
Mm-hmm.
sense, and or fashion. And so that's my prayer. That's my hope for each and every one of these couples that's currently going through a divorce. And who's to say, by God's will, that they may eventually end up connecting down the line? Because we've seen that happen. For
Mm-hmm.
those of you all, if you remember going back to Housewives of Atlanta, Nene and Greg, at one point they had parted ways. And then, like I said, down the road, a year or two later, they ended up reconnecting and got back remarried, and they stayed married until his death about a year or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that God works in powerful ways, but just like Shnequia stated, sometimes the ending of the relationship is the best thing for the two individuals involved, because there's a blessing waiting on the other end for
Mm-hmm.
both of them if they are willing to take hold of it.
Mm-hmm. That was a word right there. I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we always like to end our episodes with what we call an insightful moment. And this is where either myself or Lakesha or even you all can submit insightful moments, and it's basically like anything that's some sort of inspiration, whether it could be a quote or a song lyric or a Bible scripture, a poem, anything that you feel like really gets you through and resonates with you, and it's just basically something that you want to share with others. So I think Lakesha has one at this time that she would like to share.
So, what I want to share for this insightful moment, just to give you a little bit backstory of where this came from. When I was an undergrad studying music at Morris Brown College, there was an aria that my uh, music professor, we were working on for quite some time. And it did not dawn on me until I left college and had gone through some things, in life, good, bad, and ugly, that I really sat down and started looking at these lyrics. And it dawned on me like, oh my gosh, this is a Bible verse. And so as a result, it has really, really become, I ain't gonna say it has become, it is one of my favorite Bible verses to this day. Especially when I'm going through something, when I'm questioning myself and things of this nature, this is the verse that I always turn back to. And it's Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. And it reads as such: Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest.
I like that scripture too. I always felt like that scripture was a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very inspirational. Thank you for sharing that,
You are
Lakesha. So,
welcome.
and we hope that you were able to take that insightful moment, that scripture, and really just apply it to yourselves, and to know that you can be of good courage. God is with you, and you're not alone in this journey called life. So yeah, just lean on to him. So with that being said, I feel like that concludes our episode, but we always want to let you know that you can like and follow Insightful Conversations with SNL on our Facebook page as well as our Instagram page. Our username is @InsightConvoWSL. And also, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. So just make sure to like this video like we talked about in the beginning. And also, if you're listening to us on podcast platforms, we're on all the major ones, so subscribe to us there, and tell a friend about us, and you can feel free to give us feedback and stuff if you want. Like I said, you can hit us up in our DMs on Instagram or Facebook, or you can also email us at insightfulconversations37@gmail.com. So there's multiple ways that you can get in contact.
Oh yeah.
All right. Did you have anything else, Lakesha?
The only thing that I wanted to end on if you all did not know, my cousin just celebrated a milestone. She has entered another phase of life, and I am so proud. I am so happy for her, because we know a lot of times when it comes to aging, some people are really scared of doing so, and she has embraced it. I was telling her earlier before we even started that she looked like a ray of sunlight. She said it's the ring light, but honestly, it's just her, y'all. If y'all around Shnequia, then you know that she has a ray that's constantly around her. So, cousin, I wanted to wish you, although your birthday has passed, I wanted to wish you a happy 40th birthday.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to say tag you're it, because you're going to be coming up pretty soon in a few weeks. So should we go ahead and kind of spill the tea on the next one?
Spill the tea, cuz.
Okay, so we will be back shortly.
Yes.
I mean, not tonight or whatever, but we will be back within a few weeks. This is actually going to be our season finale episode when we come back. And it's going to be about our life as we go into this milestone, and what we've learned and things like that. So we hope that you really tune in for that. Be on the lookout for that, because we're going to do something a little different with that episode. We're going to go back to something that we've done before, but we keep that part a secret though. But so we'll definitely make sure that we let you all know on our social media platforms when we will be dropping that episode. So just wanted to share that. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had. So
that's all I have.
Well, with that being said, we hope that you all enjoyed this episode, that you were able to take something out of it, and that you share it with someone. Yes. And also, we hope that y'all really take care of yourselves out there. Vote, because it is voting season. Election day is next Tuesday.
November 8th.
Right, and there are some key elections that's going on in multiple states. Governors, senators, all of that. So definitely make sure and let your voice be heard.
Yes.
Vote. But like I said, just take care of yourselves and each other, and really just believe in yourself and love yourself, and just know that you're good and you can be good. All you gotta do is just do the work.
Do the work.
All right. Well, y'all take care, and until next time, peace.
Bye.